Hell Uden. Tonight is my turn to speak a little bit. But before I continue with the saga, I would like just to make short resume of what has been told in the last 2 days. 2 days ago, Michel has been talking about one period known as Paradis et, paradise time. In this time, the Earth's axis, the North Pole and South Pole, were straight in relation to the Sun. So at the top of the planet, there was 24-hour sunshine, and at the bottom of the planet, there was also 24-hour sunshine. But on the bottom of the planet, there was only water, and on the top of the planet, there was land. At the top, there was one ringland known as Udenma. And in the center of this ringland was the exact North Pole. In this ringland lived the Aser, and outside of this ringland lived the Vaner. The Aser consist of two families, Pirouette and Rouset. In the Pirouette, we find the 8 figures that you can find in all mythology around the planet, but with different names. In this mythology, these figures are known as Gubbe, Gumma, Bock, Svan, Eres, Mai, and Frey and Freya. This Pirouette family, they create the Rouset family. In the Rouset family, we find 4 titles, which are Rabi, Nar, Disa, and Sienera. This Bock family, or Pirouette family, consists of 12 sons and 7 daughters. The 12th son is Bock, the first son is Ers, and the first daughter is Mai. So this Bock, he was taking the most healthy and beauty woman on the planet to be his S-Van, because she comes from the Vaner, so she becomes Svan. And from this lady, he have to make 12 sons and 7 daughters, like his father has been doing. But this Bock, he not only make pregnant this Svan to create the Pirouette family, but he also make pregnant the Disa. And from the Disa come this Rabi, Nar, New Disa, and Sienera. So these Rabi, they go out and they start to populate the planet in the form of more ringlands, like Udenma. Udenma is about 200-kilometer diameter, about. So for every ringland around the planet, there has been one Rabi. Now this Rabi, he become the allfather for all those people in his ringland. So the Rabi, he make the Jarl woman pregnant. The Jarl man is making the Kar woman pregnant. The Kar man is making the Trail woman pregnant. So if you are one Trail anywhere on the planet, you could say my father's one Kar, and my grandfather is the Jarl. My great-grandfather is the Rabi, and the Rabi is son of Bock, so Bock become great-great-grandfather. And when the Bock's 12th son become 27, where he also choose one Svan, the old Bock become automatically Gubbe. So Gubbe in one breeding system around the planet become the all-father for everybody on the planet. We have one tropical climate, so the people living in paradise time were also tropical people, like Soma, with brown and black eyes and dark skin and dark hair. Before I move on, I would like to add one little story that hasn't been mentioned from before. So far we've been talking about how we make children, but I would like to talk a little bit about the end of our life. If I take Gumme, the highest and the most respected and appreciated lady on the planet, the mother of these 12 sons and 7 daughters, I will take how she, when it comes her time to leave, how it happened. About 30 kilometers east from what is now Helsinki, there is one area called Gumbo Strand. And this is where Gumma was leaving the planet. When we become old, it comes one day where we can no longer walk. So from this day, we can take one stick. So now we can walk nicely around the countryside with our stick. Already this is one big difference between us and the animal. Because that day the animal cannot walk anymore is also the day it died in the nature. So from this day that you are now walking with your stick, you start to call all your family and all those people who have been meaning something to you in your life to come so that you can say everything that you want to say to these people, to your family and to your friends. You give whatever you want to give, and you sit down and you talk with each other one by one. When you have gone through all your family and all your friends, it came to where you had to decide that day where you want to leave. When that day came, all your members of the family were there. The 2 strongest men in your family, they create what is called one golden chair. And one golden chair is when 2 men put their hands like this together. So now Gumma could sit on top of their hands in what's called one golden chair. Everybody was bar. And now they walk through the nature in Gumbo Strand to one berget called Sibu Berget. And in Sibu Berget, there is one rock which is called Ettestupe. Ettestupe. This rock, in English I think we call it one scarp, has on one side one slope and on the other side like one precipice. So they walked in single file so that everybody can think now of Gumme, because Gumme is the one who is leaving. So now when they walk to the base of this rock, where they turn around, and the whole family formed one semicircle around Gumme, so that she can have, for the last time, eye-to-eye contact with all her family. Then these 2 men, carrying Gumme, walk backwards up this rock to the top, where now Gumme has to stand with the help of her stick. After these 2 men, they go down and they join the rest of the family. Beside this rock, this Ettestupe rock, is one other rock. And on this rock was one sundial. Now when this sundial was reaching 12 o'clock, So when the sun was highest in the sky, Gumme would lift her stick to Odin, to the sun. And everybody looked into Odin. Now at this moment, because she cannot stand without the help of her stick, she fell backwards down this precipice. According to the story, she was already dead before she hit the ground. So now the people, they came around the other side of the room. They take one stretcher with 2 pieces of wood and 1 leather between, and now they carry the body of Gumme up onto Sibo Berget. On top of this Berget, they had already prepared 1 fire, where now they put the body of Gumme on this fire. And they burn this body. But for the heathen people, they believed that the soul, or the fylgia, is now in the ash. So they collected all this ash of Gumme, and they put into 1 ox pung. And from this ox, with this ox pung, they went 70 kilometers east of Helsinki to one area called Tuna. And in Tuna, there is 1 ash tree. This ash tree is known as Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil. Now they put the ash of Gumme to the root of the ash tree. Now ash is the most dry substance existing on this planet. So that moment where it comes in contact with the ground water take in the ash immediately. So now the fylgia is in the water around the root of the tree. So the root can take in this fylgia through the root, through the stem, from the stem to the branch, and from the branch to the leaf. Now when the sun strålar go through this leaf, the leaf of Gumme is leaving the leaf, and via centrifug all kraft, this fylgia is taken into the atmosphere, and via the centrifugal craft is taken back to the North Pole, to Valhalla. And in Valhalla, the Bock is making the Svan pregnant with these 12 sons and 7 daughters. In this way, the soul is going around and around. Everybody else on this planet belonged to 1 oak tree in hell. So no matter where you went to Ättestupa, anywhere on this planet, your ash was transported back to hell and put to the root of 1 oak tree, your family oak tree. So this is how we used to leave the planet before. Now we come to the first number that has been mentioned in this story by my good friend Soma yesterday. 50 million, 10,000, and 11 years ago, something happened. In the saga, we call it the first Ragnarök. The axis of this planet and of the whole galaxy shifted. Because of this happening, much water was drawn up from the oceans into the atmosphere and came down in the form of ice. In 3 months' time, this happened. Kilometer thick ice. And start one period in this saga known as Alt Land Is. All land ice. We can find out which country were covered with ice? Ireland, Scotland, England, Svealand, Norrland, Saxonland, Frankenland, Rusland. All country with the sound land, north from the Pyrenees, the Himalayas, the Alps, was covered with ice. This pirouette family, they remained inside the ice. How? Because from the Gulf Stream, because from the Gulf of Mexico comes one hot Gulf Stream that passed the English Channel and into the Finnish Gulf. At that time, all hot water from Mexico came in this way. Now, this water can go as far as where today is Petersburg, but then it can't go any further. So it turned around and started to come back out again. But coming out is meeting more hot water coming in. So it began to make one kind of rosette movement in the oceans and kept this whole area, which before was known as Udenma, the land of the sun, kept it free from ice. So these people become trapped inside 1 kilometer high wall hole in the ice, Altland is. Now all those people outside of the ice, we get new systems on the planet. Before we were one race in paradise time. One race, one tropical race. But now because of this disconnection from the source, the planet divides in 10 parts. So we get 10 tropical kings around this planet, looking after 10 tropical areas in the planet. Soma, he began to talk yesterday about one period called Narkasul, one of these 10 kings in Hindustan. Another one was Peking in what is today China. Another one is Sultan, Rasul, Suleiman, etc., etc. There are 10 of these kings around the planet. They get different system. Because in the pirouette system, it is the 12th son who is making the children. The first son is the king in the family, but he is not making children. Also, the queen is not making children. The only one that is making children is the 12th son. Also, the 10 brothers in between the first and the 12th are not making children. But in this, with this 10 tropical king, was different. We get king system. Now, the king system is where the king is taking the most beauty and the most healthy lady in his kingdom to be the mother and his queen, to be the queen and the mother of the crown prince, who become the king when the old king dies. But now, this king, he have also one harem. And in his harem are the other most beautiful and healthy lady in his kingdom. And from this harem, he make, in Narkasul time, he make Maharaja. And the Maharaja, they make the Raja, and the Raja make Kar, and the Kar make the Gati. So it is also one caste system, where you're always, the lady is always taking the man from one caste up. This was in Hindustan, but was the same all over the planet, all over this tropical part of the planet, with all of the 10 kings. But now these 10 kings, they were disconnected from Gubbe. So they had to remain with their own system. So they create also their own language. So we get 10 new language on the planet. And all these language based on the Van language, or what is today the Finnish language. 10 race with 10 language. But inside Outlandis was very different situation for this pirouette and rosette family. They also stopped to make 12 sons and 7 daughters, so they also get king system, because they no longer need to make this 12 sons and 7 daughters, because it's very small area and they don't need to make so many people. So they become 7 sons and 7 daughters. they continue in this arctical climate, and no longer are these palm trees and all these tropical plants growing. So they created the pine tree. They created agriculture, because now they need to eat much more than they do in the tropical time. From the goat, they have been creating domestic animals. All these animals with 2 toes. In English, we call it cloven hoof. They've been making the pig, the sheep, the cow. The chicken is coming from the peacock. They've been making many of these domestic animals and agriculture in order to exist inside Altlandis. They stay in this hole in the ice. Year, because they live inside one hole, perhaps only 2 hours sunlight a day was getting into this hole. So they become arctical people. They lose the color of their skin, and they get blue eye and green eyes, fair skin and fair hair. They stay inside this hole in the ice, and the king systems outside remained intact until the second number we come to in this story. 10,011 years back come the second Ragnarök. And the second Ragnarök was created because this Gulf Stream from Mexico was over 50 million year period slowly eating away at the ice. And these people, they find out that very soon there's going to come a break in the ice, and from the ice and the fastland, and very soon this is going to start to move south and polish everything, including them if they don't get out. So this Raphael and Sarah, these people inside this hole in the ice, with their 7 sons and 7 daughters, their 7 sons' tour friends, and the 7 daughters' tour friends, altogether about 30 people. They built boats, and in these boats they put all their domestic animal, all the agriculture and plants that they have been creating in this arctical climate, and they scaled the ice, which had already been melting quite considerably. When they get to the top of this ice, they find out that very quickly they can slide down, and they come to open water, to the Finnish Gulf. So with all these animals and these people, they sail south to one island, at that time known as Bockland. Today we call it Gotland, Goatland, Gotland. The Gothic style is coming from Gotland. In this island they could survive this Ragnarök because all the ice could nicely float by this island in the sea. They stay inside these caves, where straight away when they arrive they make again the original system of 12 sons and 7 daughters. From this period, from about 10,011 years back, for about 1,000 years, they send out the 10 brothers, between the first one, Ers, and the 12th one, Bok, to make contact with these 10 kings, tropical kings, on the outside. So for the first time, after 50 million years, these tropical people could have again contact with the original heathen system. Yesterday, Soma was mentioning one of these figures. In Hindustan, he is known as Hanuman, one of these 10. In China, he is known as Buddha. In Creta, with this Rasul and Sultan, He's known as Dionysus. There's one little rhyme that goes with this. Excuse me. Hanuman kom som asrenes bud til Asien med ordens visdom som gjorde bokken til en bramen, en god mann som skapet det gode mennesker, fylgjør, valkyrier. Bud is one messenger. And when he come from the Asar, he become one Asarnas Bud, one Buddha. Hanuman is Han, Odin's man. Hanuman. This period was very short. It lasted, like I say before, only for about 1,000 years. From 9,011 years back, the ice had been going away from the fastland, going away from Odin Ma. So this Pirouette family, they want to move back and rebuild as hell. Before this happened, or about the same time as this happened, 2 of the more than 12 sons of Bok decide to leave this system. We explained before that this Pirouette, they had 12 sons and 7 daughters. But they could have more than 12 sons and 7 daughters, because maybe they get 13, 14 sons before they get the 7th daughter, but they had to make minimum 12 sons and 7 daughters. So these 2 boys, who were more than the 12, one was called Sven, and one was called Dan. Sven, he moved to Uppsala and created Svenskarar. In Uppsala, he became the allfather for all the Svenskarar. He make copy from Narcosul system, from this king system from before. So he also take the most beauty and healthy to become his queen, and from her he get his crown prince, who become king when he dies. The other boys born from all these other beautiful lady become hertig, and every hertig get one hertigdöme, and in this hertigdöme they create jarl, karl, and träl. Then he moved from Öland to Julland. And in Julland he also created king system with crown prince, hertig, who get hertigdöme. And in the hertigdöme they create jarl, karl, and träl. After some time they've been moving over from Sweden to Norway. One of the sideline from Sven, they put to be king in Norway. So he become allfather for those people in Norway. Another Ruth Scott from Sven has been leaving from Norway, and from Norway it's only a little sail across the ocean to these small islands outside of Norway called Scotland. In Scotland went one line, one sperm line from Sven, and he make his center in one place today called Edinburgh. Eden, Heden, Bore. Edinburgh. Then he decided to move south, and from Denmark he went to Germany. From Germany he go to Holland, to the north of France, to to Belgium, and from Belgium he went into England, to England. The border between these two roses, this white and this red rose in England, is that border which is today between Scotland and England. We have had many, many years problem of who is the king of England. So these Viking, they move from Scandinavia via Norway to Scotland and into Ireland, and from Denmark to Germany and into England. In this way, these Arctical people began to populate these lands that have been empty north from the Pyrenees and the Alps. Now we get 3 Arctical race. So now we have 10 tropical race and 3 Arctical race existing on the planet. Pirouette family with this gubbe gumme, Bocksaga, Eresmai, they move back to Odenma and they rebuild hell. They rebuild one castle in one area 70 kilometers west from Helsinki called Snappertuna. And here they build one castle which is known today as Raseborg or Rasepuri. This was the living place of Eres and Mai. When they move back to Odenma, they create again this pirouette, huset, jarlet, karlet, trelet, and they start to spread east into Rusland. So these rabbis, they get ringlands in Rusland where they create their jarlet, karlet, and trelet. They took with them 3 statues that they used for processions. These statues are in the form of box, and they're made from gold. They used them in processions where they would put these golden box into wagons, and these wagons could be pulled around by 8 live box. So now they start to populate this Rusland and continue a little bit with connection with this Dionysus to Creta, where is living this Sultan and Suleiman. We have one line that divides this planet in 2. This line is known as the Meridian line. And this meridian line go from Ashel to Hellas, to Creta. And from Hellas, it go down to the South Pole. From the South Pole, come around again, crossing Hawaii, back to the North Pole, back to Odenma. This was the 0 meridian line that was existing up until 1675, when it was removed to Greenwich in England. So from Ashel to Hellas, you find this in Creta. You find on the east side Sultan, and on the west side Rasul. Now they have their mythology down there also. So the Sultan, he have Zeus, and Rasul, he have Jupiter, and together they have Pan. And Pan he have one monkey face, one monkey tail. He have goat horn and goat feet, legs, and man's decoration. So in this figure of Pan, you find Frey. Because Frey come from the combination of one monkey and one nanny goat, come Frey and Freya. Then we come to one period in the history where this Rasul and Sultan, they follow example of Sven and Dan. Because when Sven and Dan, they jump out from the original system, they did not get one of these Hanuman or Dionysus or Buddha. So this Sultan and Rasul, they decide to follow example from this Sven and Dan and become their own independent system without connection with us, hell. So Sultan, he moved to Istanbul, Constantinople, and he make his center there. This Rasul, he moved to Rome, and in Rome he make copy from hell, because Rome is also built around 7 hill with 7 temple. And there they make this story that Romulus and Remus come from this wolf, and they grow up by drinking the milk of the wolf. Whereas in Wainamoinen mythology, or this Bocksaga, Frey and Freya grew up by drinking the milk from the nanny goat. They create their centers in Istanbul and Rome, which create one difficulty for that area south from Crete, from Africa. So it meant that around the Nile or Nile River, there was no information center. So they send another one of these more than 12 sons from hell to Egypt. And his name or title was Farra Uden. Farra Uden. Pharaoh. So he go down there and he make his breeding system there. After this, we get one other happening, which Soma was explaining yesterday, that another one of these members of this family decide to leave the system. And he went east to Hindustan, and he take with him this domestic animal and agriculture. His name was Krishna. Now when he get to Hindustan, he find the system in Hindustan was under Narcosul, and he break this system because he introduced one par system where every man has one woman and every woman has one man. So he introduced matrimony in Hindustan. So he take away the tour, because from the heathen time, every woman, when she want one child, she would take that child from a different man. So every child had a different father from the same lady. But with matrimony, you get many children from the same man, and you stay all your life together with this man. So for the first time on the planet, we have one par system. Later, if I now go back to this Rasul and Sultan, in the history, these two centers become the center for, in Rome, become this Julius Caesar line from Rasul. So this Jupiter, he moved to Rome, and he created in the time St. Peter's Church. In Istanbul, the Sultan become the head of the Greek Orthodox Church. Inherited system. So when the Sultan died, his first son, who become the new Sultan, also inherit the head of the Greek Orthodox Church. But in Rome, they changed the system. They create one election system, where now they create one pope. And when that pope dies, they elect one other pope. So now slowly, these two Christian systems start to move north. In England, we get Christianity already around the year 500. So before this time, we belong to one heathen breeding system, where in England, we don't talk about Jarl, Karl, and Trail. In England, this king, he have the crown prince, and these other sons from his harem were called dukes. And this duke, he get a dukedom. And in his dukedom, he create earl. And these earls become the father to the peasant people, class of people. And the peasant boys become the father of the serf. So we talk about earl, peasant, and serf, and you talk about jarl, karl, and trail. So you belong to one dukedom, where the allfather of your people is that duke, and he is son of king. So it was again, in all of England and all of Scotland, they were one family system, up until Christianity arrived around the year 500, where all those men who were given the right to make children get one name for their sperma. This name could carry through to all their sons. So from this time we get sperm names in around the year 500 in England. In Russia, they become Greek Orthodox in the year 987. In Sweden, they become Catholic in 1008. But before this time, actually after England become Christian, the Viking, they fight very hard to preserve their culture, because this Christian system was very different from the Viking system. Because in the Viking system, they also had ättestupa, because they understood that the Fulgia have to go back into the nature system. But this Catholic system, they want to bury the body, or to keep it in one urn from metal on the mantelpiece. So the Fulgia has no chance to go back into the system. So these Vikings, they fight very hard with this Christian to keep out from this Christianity system. But in the end, they also become Christian in 1008 in Sweden. Which left Finland, the last of these heathen people, now squeezed between two Christian systems. In the east you had the Greek Orthodox, and in the west you had the Roman Catholic. So in the year 987, when Russia became Greek Orthodox, they decided to close their temple in Finland. I explained before that Gumma, when she died, when she went to ättestupa, this took place in one area called Gumbo Strand. So Gumma was leaving from Gumbo, the boo of Gumma, Strand. According to this saga, Gumma, when she fall from her ättestupa rock, she fall in front of what is known in Van language, Lemmenkainen Temple, or the Bock Temple. Below this temple is one storehouse. But for the description of what is inside this storehouse, you have to wait until tomorrow, because my good friend Jim will give description of what is inside. So I will leave it just that she fall in front of the door of the Lemmenkainen Temple. So these heathen people, this Pirouet and Roset family, they know that it's only a matter of time before one of these Christian system come to destroy their system. So they closed the temple in the year 987. Now we come to the third Ragnarök. We talk about two from before. The first being the axis shift. The second, when Altland East was destroyed and polished by the ice. And now we come to the third Ragnarök. And this is where the Pope in Rome, he sent one bishop, actually the Bishop of Sigtuna, together with the Swedish king of that time, who in the history book become known as King Anunt Hellbrennere, together with one Swiss mercenary army. They come in to Odenma and they kill everybody that they can find. They cut down all oak tree. They destroy Valhalla. They try to destroy Rasapuri, this castle. But Rasapuri was so big that they could only destroy the top part of this castle, and you can still see today the remains of this castle. In 24, in July 1050, they arrived to Odenma and create the third Ragnarök. At this time, this Gubbe, this Pirouet family, decide to bury two of these golden statues of Bock. They buried this statue in one area called Snappertuna, near to this castle and near to this ash tree. Above this statue, they plant two oak trees to mark where they are. Then they had to get out, because very soon they're also going to be killed. So they take their family and their belongings and the third of this golden statue north to Lapinma, to Lapland. And there he stay from 1050 on one mountain called Korvetuntri, which today is the border between Finland and Russia. So now this Gubbe, this Jul Odens Gubbe, is going around no longer with his 8 Bock pulling his wagon. Now he have 8 reindeer pulling his wagon. Jul Odens Gubbe. So they stay there in Korvetuntri. And Ers, he went to one place called Kajani. And in Kajani there is Kajani Bori. Kajani, the castle of Kajani, which is on one river island. In the middle of a river is one small island. And on this island is one castle called Kajani Lina. They stay there for 200 years. So from 1050 until the year 1250. When one man from Sweden called Birger Jarl came across to meet with one representative from the Russian side, Alexander Nevsky, and they shake hands and create the border between the Roman Catholic system and the Greek Orthodox system. At this time, this burial jarl, he shake hands and make agreement with this pirouette, with this gubbe, that they could move back down to Udenma, but that they could no longer live according to the heathen system. So this family divided in two. For the first time, these heirs, he could make children. And all his children get one name of his sperm, and that name was Ra-ström. This gubbe, he become Bockström. And they moved south to Udenma. Bockström, they moved to Degerö. And Raström, he moved to Vinö, which was that place where before the gubbe had been living. So just in case there was anything happening from the Catholic side, they wanted to keep the main line, which is from Gubbe, in one other island, different from where he had always been living from before he went to Lapinmaa. So they stay there, and they have marriage, and they have normal life, like everybody else, under the Catholic time. 50, actually from 1050, and now become under Sweden. The king in Sweden, he become under the Pope in Rome. So Sweden remained under the Pope from 1050 up until, with one elected king system, where they now elect the king from one jarl. So it could happen that this jarl's son also become king, and also his son, but was not in the constitution. It was on an elected system, not one inherited system like the king systems from before. So this remained under this Pope in Rome up until 1527, when Gustav Vasa kicked out the Pope, and he became king of Sweden, where he became king of the church by himself. So no longer does he have to read out this letter written in Rome by the Pope and given to the archbishop, who make copy and give it to the bishop, who make copy and give it to the priest, who read it out in the church on Sunday. Now he can write his own letter and say his own things. 7 years later, in England, King Henry VIII take example from Gustav Vasa in 1534, and he do same thing. He kick out the Pope and become the head of the Church of England. In 1550, Gustav Vasa, he make Helsinki the town. He make Helsinki on the old hell, where before hell was destroyed by these Catholic people. They continue this Bockström and Raström, where the first son become head of that family, up until 1816, where now this Bockström family get one twins, and where now the second of these twin become the breeder in the family. So he take that role as Bock in the family, and the first of these twin become heirs who don't make children. And they continue like this. And this man who became the Bock in the family was called Carl Gustav Bockström. And he is the last member of this family to hold the title Gubbe. In 1860, he get one son called Knut Bockström. Knut Bockström was born 1860, and he take one lady, and from this lady he get 3 children. The first was one daughter called Rachel. The second was one boy called Raphael, and the third was one daughter called Rea. Carl Gustav, the last Gubbe, the last Julordens Gubbe, died in the 29 in 11, 1897. From this time, Knut, the head of the family, with his 3 children, began to educate his children with this story. But at the age of 21, Knut Raphael was killed. Raphael should have been taking this story further, but now he was killed, which left now Knut with 2 daughters. So on the 22nd of April 1941, on the birthday of Rea, Knut Bockström has been putting his sperm to the egg of Rea, his daughter. 9 months later, on the 17th of January 1942, was born one son called Ior Bock. Ior had to wait until April, until the 4th of April, where he could be baptized by his father. We told a little bit story of how we made children, and until the children came out. But there was one other little detail that was left out, and that is the baptism story, where every child who was born get one name from the almanac, where every day has one name. And on this day that you decide to give to your child, the father of that child had to come back, and with one baptist spoon he took his own sperm and give it to that baby. So Ior, he had to wait until the 4 and 4, 42, before he could be baptized. Baptized with sperm, not with water, with the life water and the wisdom water. Ior, from the age of 7, was taught his father died shortly after that he'd been baptized, Knut, which left Eeyore with his mother, Rhea, and his sister, Rachel. Because Rhea and Rachel and Eeyore have same father. So he became educated from the age of 7 every day for 2 hours with this sound system. And he learned this saga according to sound system from his mother and his sister. From 7 years of age, his mother and his sister explained to him that there is one position where by taking your legs, you can put behind the back of your neck and make one knut or one knot from yourself. And in this position, you can look your ollon, your prick in the eye. The ollon is consisting of 3 parts. From one side is one heart, from the other side is one apple, and from the top is the 3rd eye, where the sperm come from. So now you can have eye-to-eye contact with yourself. And in this position, by looking into your own eyes, the prick will stand and by itself go into your mouth. And in this way you can drink from yourself. You make one ring, one white ring. And in this way you make connection with Uden, because Uden is also one ring. Uden is one ring. Uden is ever thing. Ever, always. Means again and again, like to rebuild, to reconstruct, to restore. So always, again and again, thing. So Uden is everything, and Uden is also the sun. So by drinking from yourself on the masculine side, you make connection with Uden. In this way, according to sound system, this prick you can find in the alphabet. And in the alphabet, it is known as E. The letter E, which is one pole and one punt. So we have one pole, and when the sperm come out, you have one punt. So when you put the E in the moon, we get immune system. You reinforce the immune system. It's the same for the girls. Only they take the mahla in Van language, or sav in root language, or sap in English language. The man, to create this knot, you have to bend forward. But the lady, she can bend backwards. And in this way she open herself. The man, when the sperm come out, we talk about one orgasm. But the lady, she don't have orgasm. She have climax. Because she has to her tour is to get climax. Now this is one nature feeling. is the nicest feeling that we can experience. So why we have to have such taboo around this feeling? So the woman, she make her immune system by drinking her own salve. And the salve is symbolized in all mythology in the form of one vase. So when you take salve and you turn it backwards, you get vase. Yeah. The ladies are quite lucky, actually, because they have even got some equipment for this kind of ceremony. In English, we call it a timbul. In root, it's called finger bori. Today we use for sewing, but before was used for something else. Because in the English language, when I want to explain, if someone offers me one drink and I don't want too much, I say, give me one thimbleful. So in my language, we use it as one measure. It's the smallest measure that you can get. So this lady, by using this finger bori, they could clee their clitoris. And when they get climax, this salve is released inside. So now they could put the finger into the vagina and take out the finger, leaving the finger body inside. After, with the finger and the thumb, they could take out this finger body, and now it's full of this salve. Cheers. The other way that they could do to create also different feeling than with this finger body was by using what they call in Finnish language kana. What we know what is but kana means chicken, but that's another story. In root, they call it root, mother root. In English, we call it root. With this root, they can do by themselves, because it's something that you must control by yourself. Somebody else cannot use this root with you. It's something that you have to use by yourself. So you have 100% control of what way you are feeling. And after your climax, you can also eat this root. Is one other way to take in this salve. I think this is what they call hell tea. So we drink tea or tea to stay healthy. Bomba.